of what is about your documentary?
Just tell you what the documentary is about. The documentary is about the English band Blur, who were a favourite band of ours when we were teenagers growing up in the 90s, and in the summer of 2009 they came back together after 7 years apart because they'd fallen out, and particularly Graham and Damon, who's the singer and guitarist, who were friends from being children, had fallen out, and it was kind of a big deal for them to be coming back together. No one ever thought it would happen again, and the reason they came back together was very genuine. It's that they wanted to kind of reconcile and become friends again, and do that through music, do it through getting back together, playing the songs they'd played as you know, a young band, and go out on the road again and just, you know, kind of forget the past and become Blur again.
It was hard to approach to them, I mean to the managers, and tell them that you're going to make a film or something.
Yeah, I mean they were kind of... We had an idea. We obviously knew they were coming back and going on tour, and we had an idea of what we wanted to do, and sort of took it to their management, and then we got to meet the band in their early rehearsals, which was sort of quite a nerve-wracking experience because we were fans when we were kids, and so like, it was, you know, meeting the people who were our heroes when we were kids, and then yeah, so we pitched the idea to them, and they were kind of, some of them were into it, and other members of the band weren't quite so sure about being filmed and, you know, having cameras around them at a kind of personal time, you know, for them. But they sort of talked themselves into it. And
yeah, I think the thing was, because the reason for them coming back together was so genuine, and it was about them kind of getting to know each other again and being a band again, they were kind of reluctant to let us in with the cameras because they wanted to keep that moment for them. But then I think in the film Graham says that they kind of needed the healing process of, they needed it to be public so that they could kind of put the past behind them and kind of move on and show people what a great band they were and be friends again. So I think luckily for us, they changed their mind and they let us film, which was, you know, which is great.
Which of the crew were I'm sorry.
Which of them wasn't keen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damon particularly wasn't keen at first because he's kind of been filmed all his life, you know. Even the Gorillaz were, even though they were a cartoon band and you never see the people behind them, they'd actually had a documentary crew with them for 6 years, and I think he was a bit like, oh no, not another documentary crew, and you can kind of understand that, especially as it was kind of such a pressurised thing for them to be doing, to kind of like, they hadn't played these songs for, some of them for a decade, so they were, you know, they needed to learn them again, and they needed to kind of focus on what they were doing and appreciate each other's company. So it was a big ask to say, can we come and film this, and you know, we were really grateful that they let us.
There was a moment in the movie that you said, we're not gonna film it because it's like really personal of them.
No, we sort of, we, you know, there was a couple of occasions when they asked us not to film, only a couple of occasions when it was sort of before one of the early performances, and they were a bit nervous and didn't want a camera on them, but in general, you know, we sort of judged when it was right to roll a camera and when it was right to leave them to it, really, because it was the first time that the four of them had been together for sort of 10 years, really, and so yeah, it was there were points when it was right to sort of point the camera in a different direction.
What would you say it was the most difficult part of filming?
The most difficult part of the filming was,
for them, it was probably doing their interviews, you know, talking about the sort of the really personal stuff, you know, Graham leaving the band and the bad times, but in terms of the sort of process of filming, I'm not sure really. It was I guess
I would say the most difficult part was in the rehearsals. It was cool because it was one room and they came in each day. They did the same thing. They rehearsed. We were there. We were kind of part of the furniture, and they didn't really notice us. When they made the transition to going on the road again, suddenly, naturally, they were quite nervous, and suddenly we became more of an issue. So for the first couple of shows, it was a bit kind of. There were points where they really didn't want us around, and they kind of let that be known, and we had to kind of like go off and step back, and then gradually move forwards again. So yeah, the most difficult part was that transition onto the road, where they were quite nervous, and we seemed like a bit of an inconvenience at certain points, but gradually we got over that to the point where we ended up at Glastonbury, and it was kind of like that was just amazing.
What's your next project? Would you do more musical?
Yeah, we've been asked that question. We said when we did Blur, you know, we'll do something else, you know, because there are only so many stories you can tell within music. But as it happens, we're sort of doing 2 other music projects which are in the early stages, so we can't really mention what they are. But yeah, it's a couple more music films.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.